I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is a story of a dad, his 3 small children, and a dangerous hike up a steep trail that ended with criminal charges. Here's the story. On October 11th, Micah Smith loaded up his 3 young children, ages 2, 4, and 8, and set off into the mountains above Big Cottonwood Canyon on what he called a hike. As a brutal storm rolled in and the temperatures dropped, the trail turned unforgiving. Smith did not check the weather, and rescuers later said even trained professionals struggled to reach their location. When found, 2 children were in critical condition, 1 nearly lifeless. Prosecutors now call the hike a nightmare and have arrested Smith and charged him criminally for taking the children on this dangerous adventure. So, 1 week before all this happens, Micah Smith is pulled over by police. He's driving his car, got no plates on the car, the tires are bald, there's something clearly off. He's pulled over on the side of the road, and an officer who's got the body camera, and of course it's rolling and recording, has this really interesting conversation with Micah Smith. Again, remember, this is 1 week before he takes the kids up this insane hike into this horrific weather. So again, let's take a look, and I want you to pay attention to everything that Micah Smith is saying and revealing about what's going on in his mind and what's going on in his life.
What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the trail name for young people.
Okay. Where's your plate?
It got ripped off the other day.
Okay. Do you have any registration or anything? ID?
Not on me, man.
Okay. Anything for the vehicle? Or van or anything? I need to check.
Why?
I need something to do.
Did I break the law or something?
I'm checking on to make sure you're okay. You're pulled over the side of the road. Hold on, man.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have any interest in it.
Okay.
I can just stay parked here.
No, okay. Give me a second. I need some sort of identification of who you are, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I need your license. This is an official traffic stop now. I came to check on you. You've got no plate. You're on the road. The tires are bald. You've got no wheel fenders. And now you're refusing to give me information, which is weird.
I'm not refusing. I just...
So to answer your question, yes, you did break some laws.
What law?
You don't have a traffic or license.
I'm not driving. I'm pulled over.
Okay. Who are you, sir?
My name is Micah.
Micah what?
Smith.
I'm not here to ruin you. Not here to ruin your weekend. Micah Smith, M-I-C-A-H?
M-I-C-A-H. Yep.
Okay. Date of birth, please?
So, okay, can I just tell you everything?
Can you shut the vehicle off for me? Yeah. So I don't have to worry about you driving off?
I'm going to drive off. I do have a firearm.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Keep your hands away from me. I'll keep my hands off mine.
It's all right.
Everyone in Utah does.
Yeah, everyone does. I just want to...
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm just going to have it, man. I'm going through a really hard time. Can't even believe. My wife's cheating on me. She didn't come home till 7 o'clock. I have 3 kids.
Firearms not to go under, is it? Or him?
What is it?
You're not going to take care of Sancho
No,
or anything?
I'm hiking up to the top of the mountain, man.
Today?
Today.
You know it's snowing up there, right?
I know.
Oh, really?
I look forward to that.
You going to kill yourself or?
No way, man. No way.
I'm just making sure. These are things that
too
we
much-
deal with.
Yeah. No, I got too much to live with.
Okay.
I'm joining the Air Force soon.
You have registration and insurance on the vehicle. No insurance, no registration? No, why are you driving it, man?
I normally drive my motorcycle, but today it's raining. What's going on? What's going on?
Yes, my marriage is ending in 13 years.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry, dude.
Worse than that.
You got somebody to talk to?
I got staying with my brother right now. I slept at my house last night because she was out drinking all night.
I'm not here to ruin you. So I'm going to preface all of this with, if at any time you cause any problems, you're going to meet my dog, Mikey. And you've got 3 of us. We don't want this to go this way. You want to go to the Air Force.
Yes, I do.
You want to stay off
I need to.
probation.
Yep.
All this stuff.
Yeah.
We're not here to ruin that. However, you don't have insurance, registration, or license.
Okay.
Your car's getting impounded.
But when you found me, I wasn't driving it.
You were on the road, sir.
Right there.
I'm not going to argue this with you. This is what court is for. And if you feel it's unjust, you can certainly explain this to a court.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not going to have this on the roadside, or at least I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not trying to ruin you, but I have a job to do.
So you're gonna leave me on the side of the street?
We'll happily get you somewhere if we need to. We can try to help. All right? But your car's being impounded.
You're impounding my truck.
Yes. All right? You've got money in there. I'm happy to grab that in your wallet. But for our safety and yours, we're not going to have you go back in there just because you have an axe, an AR, your handgun.
I got all my tools in there I need.
So
this is how much is it going to be to get it out of impound? What's that going to take?
You're going to have to get your license and insurance and registration. You got to get all that fixed.
You said you weren't going to ruin me. That ruins me.
Okay. I'm not taking you to jail.
I know, but that's beside. This is worse almost. This is almost worse.
Okay.
I don't know why you had to help me. Like this, I was minding my own business.
I'm going to try to hurry and facilitate this.
Okay.
All right? For your safety and ours, please stay out of the vehicle.
As you say, I'm minding my own business. I'm on the side of this very busy road. No license plate, no insurance, no registration. The tires are bald. I've got my weapons in the car, everything else. There's a lot going on here in this conversation. That brings us to the first question in our investigation. It's about the roadside chat here. What does this conversation reveal about Micah Smith? Joining me, psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey, and host of the Hidden True Crime podcast and YouTube channel, Lauren Mathias. Great to have you both here. Lauren, I'll begin with you. As you listen to Micah Smith on the side of the road, there's a lot going on. What does it reveal to you about him and what's going on in his life?
I think looking from a crime perspective, you know, I've been following this case. I think it gives us a motive. So if he is indeed putting his children in harm, which is what police have said and what his charges say, then we have a motive. He's saying, you know, his wife's cheating on him. She left him with 3 kids really late one day. He's upset. Police are concerned that he might self-harm. All of these things going on. This is a guy that doesn't seem to be stable. He owns a business, yet at the same time doesn't have registration, doesn't have a license, doesn't have a license plate. It's very suspicious.
And as Dr. Janie Lacey, as Lauren mentioned, in the probable cause affidavit from the October 11th incident, investigators said on this date of what we just watched on October 4th, the defendant expressed suicidal ideations to police. Now, we didn't necessarily hear all that in the body cam. Pieces of it were redacted. But what are you taking out of this conversation he's having with police? What does it reveal to you?
Well, Vinny, it reveals a lot, and I agree with Lauren. He's not stable. But when we listen to the body cam footage that you just showed, it shows a man that's in psychological freefall, right? So it's not just a traffic violation. His internal world is completely unraveling, and it's reflecting in this chaos. So when I hear the officer talking about him, I mean, when someone's vehicle has no registration, no insurance, no plates, and I believe bald tires, that's not forgetfulness, Vinny. That's a man who has stopped maintaining the basic structure of his life. So the internal chaos, to me, mirrors probably what's happening inside in his internal chaos. He told the officers his 13-year marriage is ending. This is a man in crisis. And I think the weapons also, when I'm listening to the footage, are significant. And, you know, when we hear the officer understanding that they don't want to, you know, allow him to go with these weapons, I mean, that's also, to me, the officers listening to their gut instinct that something here is off. But then I also hear, Vinny, the grandiosity and his disconnect from reality. He told the officers he was looking for the trailhead, and he planned to hike to the top, even after being told it was snowing up there. I mean, he said he's a ninja brother, right? So to me, this is a grandiose way of thinking, Vinny.
Yeah. Lauren, I want to zero in on a part of that conversation where he's mentioning where he's sleeping. He said, I'm staying in my brother's, but I was at home. What do we know about the situation at home? Was he out of the home? Were they sharing custody? Was there anything official going on? Has that been revealed yet?
That is part of the mystery. But in all of the information that we've uncovered at Hidden True Crime, we do have a significant other of the wife, and there is a looming divorce. So there does certainly seem to be a separation that's happening, although we can't be quite clear what it was leading up to the hike, but that there were certainly issues in the marriage leading up and a separation and perhaps now a significant other. But, you know, where he was staying is a question. You wonder, is he staying, who he's staying with? Is he staying with the brother? Is he staying in the car? And he has this whole thing about not driving. I wasn't driving the car. I wasn't driving the car. You can't do this because I wasn't driving, even though he's on the roadway and he's going to hike up to the top despite the poor weather. It's a very, very strange situation. And I agree with Dr. Lacey. He's not in his right mind. His world is unraveling.
Dr. Jenny Lacey, and I'm wondering, right, the situation at home, the status of his mind. I'm thinking chicken egg, like which is happening first? Is he having some sort of breakdown that's causing problems in the home and problems with the marriage and the relationship, or did the problems with the relationship cause the breakdown in the mind? Is that easy to unpack sometimes, or is it difficult to figure out which is happening first and what's causing what here?
Well, what I can tell you, Vinny, with not working with him directly, but when we look at these situations, how someone deals with a crisis, when crisis hits, we're all going to have some level of crisis that's going to hit. It's just a matter of when or what. The tools, the emotional, what we'd call the emotional regulation, our ways of handling stress, our ways of just moving in the world, everything starts to matter, more importantly, when a crisis hits. So in his case, if it turns out to be true, you know, what he's saying, the officers of his wife was having an affair, right? His coping mechanisms and all the things that he was doing before all matters in this moment when his wife, when he finds out this information about his wife. So in and of itself, many people, Vinny, get through crisis as far as affairs or their home life is not stable, but many people don't necessarily take their kids up in these dangerous situations. So I would look at what was his mental health capacity before, just in life. How do you deal with stress? How do you deal with crisis? And all that stuff is going to matter with what we're seeing play out.
All right, our guests are going to stick around. Coming up next, why did Micah Smith want to go on a hike on October 4th?
Two of the younger children who had fallen down and taken some head trauma, including one who had stopped breathing.
Weeknights on Court TV.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead here.
Your deplorable actions are unforgivable.
The community still doesn't know how this Boston police officer died.
He can't prove one element of his case.
It was a dramatic day, a dramatic moment inside the courtroom.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
The search and rescue folks, for them, this hike was a hard hike. This is not an easy hike. This is a one that even as trained professionals, they suffered injury trying to respond to it.
And that's the prosecutor talking about how difficult the hike was on October 11th. That's the hike that Micah Smith took when he brought his 3 children with him that resulted in criminal charges against this father. So now we're going 1 week before that. We're going back to October the 4th when he's by himself and he's speaking with police on the side of the road. And he's talking about wanting to go on a hike that day. Take a listen.
You've also got your tires are bald. That's not going to help with the snow up there. They've been having problems with the snow at the top of the mountain. Okay? You don't have the wheel flares for that, which is a safety issue for other people on the road. Okay. You got several things going on.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a serious question. You want to hurt yourself?
Do I want to hurt myself? I don't want to hike until I can't hike no more, though. I want to get to the top.
You gonna do that on a rainy day like this?
It's the best time to do it.
It's dangerous.
It's wandy if you're not skilled.
Muddy, slippery.
I'm a ninja, brother.
You're a ninja?
I'm a ninja.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe you are a ninja. But I don't know that that's the best thing to be doing today.
Might not, but I've been wanting to go on this hike for 5 years.
Where are you gonna go hike?
Lone Peak. I need the mental clarity. I need to go up there, man.
How would you say, or what would you say if I said I was concerned about you, though?
So, thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
And I would rather you not do that today.
I'd say, well, my brother Jeremiah said the same thing. First thing I'll do is get in my truck and drive there. And if I feel like hiking, then I'll see how far I hike.
If I get to the top, I get to the top.
Today you're not getting to the top. I'm telling you now, with the weather, you don't have the gear in your truck for it.
Dude,
you might be a badass, but...
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've hiked barefoot, avalanche area, for miles and miles, with nothing but my dog.
All right.
He's confident, right? And he's like, the gun show is open. He's got this tank top shirt on, right? Let me show you what the weather forecast was for Salt Lake City, which is the area he's in. But again, he's going up into the mountains. Take a look at this. This is from that date, October the 4th. High of 58, low of 45, but of course much colder at higher elevations. Heavy rain in the forecast. There was flooding. Snow had already been falling in the mountains. 3 to 6 inches expected to fall that day as he was going to climb to Lone Peak in his tank top. All right, all of that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did Micah Smith want to go on a hike on October 4th? Again, 1 week before the hike with the children. Still with me, psychotherapist Dr. Janie Lacey, and joining me, experienced Wasatch hiker and mountain athlete Zach Rivera. Zach, let me start with you. He wants to go to Lone Peak. You heard the weather forecast for that day. He's got the tank top on. How good or bad of an idea is it under those conditions?
Well, I wouldn't do it personally. I think that there are some people that might want to try it, but they would have to be super experienced and have the right gear.
And when you talk about the right gear, what are you talking about? What is he going to need?
Definitely, if it's snowing, you might want to bring some micro spikes that attach to your shoes, and that'll prevent you from slipping on the steep terrain. Probably a rain jacket or a snow jacket, and then maybe just some warmer clothes. And for Lone Peak, you definitely want to bring a lot of food and water, because that full hike in nice weather takes me about 9 hours to do.
It's a 9-hour hike?
Lone Peak is a big one, yeah. It's 6,000 elevation.
Okay, Dr. Janie Lacey, approaching this from a completely different perspective. Why do you think he wanted to do this? What is going on with Micah Smith on the 4th?
I think, Vinny, that the October 4th was the one that he didn't take, tells us everything about what was driving him on October 11th. This, to me, wasn't really about hiking. It was about something much deeper and much more dangerous. I also kind of look at mountains as a metaphor, right? You can control, you can have some conquest. So when a man's marriage, as he referred to in the other video and the other footage, is ending and his life is falling apart, right? He's lost control over the things that matter the most. So a mountain summit, that's something you can conquer. And it's a way to feel powerful when everything else feels like, it's failing. So can he still do this? The problem is he wasn't thinking clearly enough to assess the real risk. So was he testing himself, or was he testing faith? And my thoughts about that, Vinny.
Yeah, let's talk about the risks, Zach. 9 hours. On a day like that, would you expect that other people are going to be on the trail? So if something goes wrong, someone will find you? Can you get cell service if you have a cell phone? How do those things sort of stack up for going up to Lone Peak?
Well, Lone Peak is a popular trail, so you can definitely expect to find other people on the trail. I don't necessarily know if they'd be going to the peak. And I would say 9 hours is a time that it would take if you're not going that fast, I guess. Some people definitely do it in like 6 hours, but with the rough weather, it's going to take somewhere around that time.
Now, is that there and back, or is that just one way?
That would be there and back.
Okay.
I think it's Lone Peak. Lone Peak is a 16-mile hike.
16 miles in the unreal. So, Dr. Janie Lacey, let's give a final analysis of what we've seen from Micah Smith here on the side of the road. From what you observed there, do you think there were suicidal ideations from what hasn't been redacted from that body cam video that we've seen?
Well, what I would say, Vinny, when we know that someone is in crisis, they sometimes engage in reckless behavior. But when someone has suicidal ideation, that is when they lose hope that their life can't go on. So, I mean, it's not necessary with clear intent to die, right, when they're engaging in reckless behavior. But when we see, when someone has this, let's see what happens mindset, right? He was going alone into this mountain in a snowstorm with no preparation. It fits that type of pattern to me. When it comes to that reckless behavior, and I'm going to push myself because of all the pain and all the things that he may be feeling, but maybe not necessarily with the intent that I want to kill myself.
All right, Dr. Janie Lacey, always great to have your insight. Thank you so much. Zach Rivera is going to stick around because we're going to move forward now 1 week to October 11th. Still to come, how dangerous was this hike? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the dad from Utah who took his children on a dangerous hike up a steep trail in Utah that ended with him in jail. Here's the story. What was supposed to be a father's bonding adventure became a descent into horror. High above Utah's canyons, mountain winds howled, snow fell, and 3 children huddled under a rock, frightened, cold, begging to go home. Investigators say Micah Smith pressed his children onward anyway, ignoring pleas and texts from their mother warning, "Turn back." Security camera-like video later recovered shows a little girl trembling and whispering, "Are we going to freeze to death, Daddy?" Rescue crews braved rock slides and freezing cold just to find them alive. But now Smith faces criminal charges, a reckoning for risking the lives he was supposed to protect. All right, so we're going to focus on this extremely dangerous hike, and the one, again, that resulted in Micah Smith getting arrested and charged for what happened to and what he subjected his 3 young children to. So our producers took a look at the documents in the case, and we're going to take a listen to pieces of those documents, as well as taking a look at the trail itself from some videos that have been posted online. Take a look.
32-year-old Micah Smith took his 3 children, ages 2, 4, and 8, on a hike, trying to get to the top of Twin Peaks, east of Salt Lake City. It quickly turned into a nightmare, to quote investigators. These pictures are from the rescue crews. They show the snowstorm the family encountered. There were freezing temperatures and precipitation. Investigators say Smith was clearly risking his kids' safety, seemingly not concerned about their injuries. We learned more from the probable cause affidavit, which says members of the SAR team, Deputy Franchow and Trooper Haney, deployed via helicopter and located the 8-year-old standing alongside a boulder with a few sticks stacked against it and were hoisted to their location. They noted that the children were not wearing much clothing, stating that the 2-year-old was under the 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old was mostly exposed, unconscious, and appeared lifeless. Deputy Franchow attempted to find a pulse on the 4-year-old and detected no pulse. The 8-year-old reported that on the day of the hike, they got snacks, She said Smith told her it was going to be a 9-mile hike and a 9-hour hike, but wasn't sure which. The 8-year-old described that she was tired at the beginning of the hike and ate the snacks they were supposed to save. The 8-year-old said they climbed about 2 miles from the top, and they had to climb rocks and grab onto bushes. The 8-year-old said near the top, the clouds started to come in, and she suggested to Smith that they should go, but he shook his head no and said, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing." The 8-year-old said she again expressed to Smith that they should really go and that she was getting scared. The 8-year-old said Smith told her, "You shall not pass." And then the storm came in really quickly and described that it was snowing, hailing, and raining. She said she was worried about not living. But Smith told her that they were okay. The 8-year-old described that it was a really hard night and she was freezing cold. She described that she had to keep the 4-year-old warm and Smith had to keep the 2-year-old warm. The 8-year-old described that their teeth were chattering and their clothes were wet. The 8-year-old stated that one of her brothers had hypothermia, and she ran to her brother with hypothermia and hugged him tight to try to make him a little warmer. And she said she had to breathe into his mouth and push on his chest. At one point, Smith said he left the 3 children and went down the mountain by himself. Rescue crews then arrived. Experienced hikers have said this is a difficult trail under any conditions. This video from Renee Yeoman on YouTube shows what it looks like in snowy conditions. And YouTube user Hike With Me showed the thick brush in one section of the trail.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 2-year-old child, a 4-year-old child, an 8-year-old on this hike? Brings us to the next question in our investigation. How dangerous was this hike? Yeah, we want our kids to be out there in nature, away from their video games, etc. But come on, how dangerous was it? Still with me, podcaster Lauren Mathias, Hidden True Crime, and experienced hiker Zach Rivera. All right, Zach, I know you've been on there a lot. We're seeing some of your video. How dangerous was this hike?
So the danger really depends heavily on the conditions and the decision making. I would say in good weather, experienced adults find it really demanding. And if the weather changes, which it can change super fast, as we saw, fatigue enters the picture and the risk increases very quickly.
And let's talk about children. You've been out there. Have you ever seen a 2-year-old out there? Have you ever seen a 4-year-old? Have you ever seen an 8-year-old?
I have not. I have not.
Lauren Mathias, we're looking at this and it's like, yeah, obviously this is extremely dangerous, right? And there wasn't the preparation for what they all needed, including especially the children, the way they were dressed, etc. Do we know anything about how he was able to get the kids out there? Why he was able to get the kids by himself out onto this hike? Did his wife know? Was there communication at all?
There was communication. It was as simple as, I'm going to take the kids on a hike. And it's fun. That's fun. They're an outdoor family, right? I doubt that she knew which hike it was. The Broads Fork Trail, marked hard, marked unsafe for children. Someone that went, just 2 hours, the temperature dropped 20 degrees. There was also a forecast of snow and hail and fog. So there was this communication of, hey, I'm going to take the kids. Oh, that sounds fun. They had new hiking shoes, right? That's what she knew. And then he took a couple of pictures. They were having fun. And then as they went further up the mountain, he started to communicate with his wife and say, hey, by the way, it's getting cold. I'm nervous. And she said, well, why don't you turn around? I'm nervous too. And his little girl, one of the children is also allegedly saying, hey, I'm scared. And what does Micah do? He keeps going. He keeps going. And then at one point he communicates with his wife and he says, it would be a lot easier, if you were here, or I don't know the exact term, but paraphrasing here, it's hard being only one parent on this 9-mile hike up this steep elevation. And so were they communicating? Yeah, she was saying, get home now. I'm getting stressed out. And what Micah chooses to do is keep going up this hike in the most treacherous of weather. And yes, it is marked hard for experienced hikers.
Let me ask you, Zach, when nightfall comes, how does that change the dynamic of doing a hike like this?
I guess it depends on how high up you are, but you definitely need the right gear. You're going to need a headlamp. And if you're past the upper section, it's all big boulders. So the risk is increased greatly.
Now, I'm looking at these videos, Zach, and can kind of help us out here. I'm not a person who does these types of hikes at all, right? To me, a hike is a walk with a slight slope on a path that is, paved, right? That's a hike for me. So are we talking about rock climbing here? Or, because I'm trying to picture like a 4-year-old doing anything like this. Is this rock climbing? And if you slip, you fall, you're gonna tumble down? What are we talking about here?
So this is technically called scrambling, and it's the level right below rock climbing. But yeah, this is dangerous, and there are ways to bypass these specific areas in the video, but even bypassing it, if you don't know which way to go, you can end up being cliffed out, and this is all very similar looking terrain, so everything that is up there is pretty much, you have to do a little bit of rock climbing.
All right, Lauren, I remember when my children were 2 years old. If they're, I'm carrying them, and we're not going rock climbing. We're just like, I don't know, going to the park, and if after a certain while you're going to be carrying your children. This makes zero sense to me at all. I'm trying to gather how they were even able to do it. I mean, it's pretty amazing how the 4 and 8 and 2-year-old got as far as they did here.
Right? I wonder too how they got so far. And you're right, I picture like a backpack, right? For even the 4-year-old, get the 4-year-old in a backpack, carry the 4-year-old. I don't know how they even made it as far as they did. And clearly when they started to go back down, they couldn't make it very far. They only got 600 feet, And then let's talk about the fact that he left them. He left them. He taught his little girl how to do CPR and left them. All the way up high. And this is very high, the Utah mountains, ski Utah. We're talking, that type of elevation where you go snow skiing, and he leaves them with hardly any clothing on. So I don't know how they made it up. And all of a sudden he realized he couldn't get down. And we know that 2 of the 5 deputies didn't even feel like they could safely navigate the mountain to get to the kids. Grown men, they couldn't get there. I don't know how they got a 2- and 4-year-old up there. But this is very treacherous.
Zach, are you shocked that the kids were able to make it that far?
So I actually don't know how far they made it up. I would say even the first section of the hike is really bushwhacky, and it wouldn't be comfortable for kids. But the second section is where the boulder field comes, and then the scrambling of a little bit of rock climbing, where it gets significantly more dangerous.
This was, and now they're criminal charges, right? So obviously everything that was done here from the eyes of law enforcement and the grown-ups in the room, this is absurd what took place here. Lauren, I just want you to give us your bottom line on everything that happened here. What do you think motivated this extremely dangerous hike?
What I think right now, my perspective, my opinion, I think he was angry at his wife. I think that text is very telling. It would be a lot easier if, there were 2 parents here. I think that speaks to motive. I think he was angry, and I think he knew what he was doing. I do.
Lauren Mathias, Hidden True Crime Podcast, thank you so much. Zach Rivera, thank you so much, and stay safe out there and have fun. For someone who's trained and ready, it's great, but not for a 2, 4, and 8-year-old. Coming up next, will Micah Smith have a role in his children's lives.
Do you find by a clear and convincing standard that you would be a danger to the alleged victims if you were released today? No in-person, no telephonic, no electronic, no written contact. You may not go where they live or go to school. You may not have anyone else contact them for you, so no passing messages to them through anyone else. And you may not possess a weapon or any kind of ammunition while this case is pending. Mr. Smith, do you understand those expectations that I've laid out for you?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Micah Smith, no contact with his children. Well, he's locked up anyway, but if he was to somehow be released or from inside attempt to communicate or contact them. Let me go through the injuries here, some of the reports of the injuries of the children who went on this extremely dangerous hike. This is from the probable cause affidavit. Medical records show that while en route to the hospital, the 4-year-old was pulseless. CPR was initiated. The 4-year-old was intubated and received 25 minutes of CPR. His heart rhythms were either asystole or bradycardic. Upon arrival at the hospital, his core body temperature was 17 degrees Celsius, just 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. CPR was continued with 3 rounds of epinephrine. The 4-year-old was emergently placed on a VA ECMO. While in the hospital, the 4-year-old suffered a stroke, which required a portion of his skull to be removed and an external ventricular drain to be placed. This is serious stuff. The 2-year-old also had hit his head and appeared dazed. So the judge was not letting him out, right? And I want you to take a listen to Micah Smith here in the hearing asking the judge a question.
Is there anything that I can do to help show that I'm not a danger or threat?
Okay. Well, Mr. Smith, that's an excellent discussion for you to have with your lawyer. At this stage of the proceedings, there's not anything further for us to decide. I've made my decisions in the case today.
And that's a danger or threat to his own children, who we put in extreme danger on this hike. Brings us to the final question in our investigation this hour. Will Micah Smith have a role in his children's lives? Here with me, National Parenting Family Relationship expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth and Utah criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro. Let me begin with you, Dr. Sue. What are your thoughts here? Will he, should he have a role in his children's lives?
That's not for me to determine, but if it was, I would say no. I feel that this is extreme abuse. I mean, what you just read to me and the fact that his 4-year-old had to have part of his skull removed, it seems to me he knew what was right from wrong. I don't know, without evaluating him. However, he thought he was a ninja, right? So if he's a ninja, then he could do anything he wants and save his kids from anything. If he is ever to have contact with them again, he would have to go through a very, very intense evaluation. And in my opinion, only have supervised visits under supervision for a very, very long time.
Sky Lazaro, how do you think this plays out in the courts?
Well, as of right now, with this pretrial protective order, there's going to be no contact whatsoever through third parties or any other way. I don't expect that to change anytime soon. These children are, as I understand, still in the hospital. And so for the time being, this order is going to stand. Now, that doesn't mean it can't change over time. And it sounds like there's also going to be some sort of divorce action or family law action. There could also be, and we don't know because they're sealed, a juvenile action that relates to another protective order protecting the kids. So I think there's a lot that's going to happen. And like I said, I don't see that happening anytime in the foreseeable future.
Dr. Sue, what happens when the children get a little bit older, and let's just hope and pray that they're physically okay and mentally okay? If they start saying, hey, I want to see my dad, I want to talk to my dad.
Well, you know, as we know, Vinnie, from other cases, children that are abused by their own parents often want to still see their parents, to believe that they are good people. So, look, if they want to see their father in time, again, we need to get professionals involved to do these evaluations to see if it is safe for them to be with their father. We would also hope that he would get a lot of help along the way and that he would be evaluated again to make sure that he is safe to be around his children as well. But Vinnie, you know, from working with so many families over the years, these children are going to have a long road ahead of them of recovery from all these traumatic events caused by their own parent. And that is very difficult to move through and beyond.
And Scott, I'm not sure, this is a very different type of criminal case, right? It's not the traditional thing that we see here at Court TV, or I think that you see in many criminal courtrooms, because the behavior is so different, so bizarre, so strange. How much of what happens in that criminal case do you think will impact whether or not he ever does have any sort of a relationship with the kids?
I think it's going to impact it tremendously. You're correct. Most of the time when we see child torture cases or neglect cases, it's an ongoing pattern of abuse. This is an incident that occurred that resulted in really, really bad injuries to these children. I could, in the future, foresee a situation where he's allowed supervised contact after a whole bunch of assessments and professionals are involved, both for the children and himself. But I do think the criminal case, because ultimately, until a judge changes or amends that pretrial protective order that's in place, that's going to take precedent over any other order that's entered in the civil case.
Big thanks, Skye Lazaro, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Thank you both so much. Great insight. We appreciate it. Micah Smith put his children into a terrible situation, and it seems clear his mental state was spiraling at least a week before this dangerous hike. Understanding what was happening can explain his actions, but the question is, will jurors excuse his actions when his case goes to trial? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.